Welcome to episode 12 of my GTNH playthrough. I hope you're sitting comfortably, and you might want to get yourself a cup of tea, because we're going to be doing quite a lot in this episode. I make my first MV circuits and the LV circuit assembler. I make my first MV machines. I torture an enderman in the name of never needing to worry about getting ender pearls ever again. And I scheme up some plans to make sure the base is in the best possible shape to cruise into MV. If I don't balls it up, there will be chapter markers in the video so you can find the bits you're interested in. Let's get gregging. Okay, so today what I want to do is make our first MV circuits. To do that, we'll need to make some circuit boards and some diodes. And once we've got them made, we'll be able to make the circuit assembler, which will make everything just a little bit cheaper. Now, I was looking at the quest book, and the quest book is kind of heavily steering you towards this recipe, which is really expensive. But these two recipes are quite a lot cheaper, and they're doable at LV, but we need iron 3 chloride or sodium persulfate. I think both of those are gettable with our current level of technology, but I think I'm going to go for iron 3 chloride because it's just a little bit easier with what I have on hand at the moment. I'm not going to set up a sort of a full sort of passive line for it just yet. I'll just do it ad hoc to get us going, and then we can think about setting up a more permanent solution for it. We're also going to need, well, again, the quest book puts you into gallium arsenide crystals and a small pile of gallium arsenide dust, again pushing you towards this recipe where one pile of dust gets you 4 diodes. But again, we can do this recipe where 1 wafer gets us 4 diodes, and that small pile of gallium arsenide dust is instead, we use a small crystal, which is the same amount of material equivalent, and that will get us 8 wafers. The downside of it is these things take forever to cook up, and they take quite a long time to cut as well. So 450 seconds, that's what, 7.5 minutes? Yeah. So now to do that we need solar grade silicon, but I remembered we actually got some in a quest book, so we should be able to get those cooking up actually straight away. I do have a little checklist here that I made, and that was before I realised I had the solar grade silicon already. So we'll check that off as we get everything. So first of all, these two need to be cooked together in the blast furnace to get our crystals. Alright, there's our first crystal. Let's go and break it in the forge hammer to get the small crystals. And then we can grind these up. Oh, I should clear this out. Oh well. Okay, for this next part we want circuit 2, silicon and our dust. Whoops, it's a crystal, not dust. That's okay, we have some more here. Okay, let's try that again. Better. And that's going to be a while. I think for the quest reward I'm going to choose Gallium because that's what I had the least of. And there's a checkbox here to get some more. And fuel is holding steady, that's what I like to see. Okay, while that's cooking up, let's see if we can make some hydrochloric acid. I think I've got 18 hydrogen here and we need 1 to 1. And while we're waiting on that, let's see if we can make the circuit boards up. We need gold foil, and we need wood pulp and glue in an assembly machine. Shouldn't be too hard. Wow, this is slow. Meanwhile, here's our iron 3 chloride. Plenty to get going with. Okay. So that's another crystal, and what we're really waiting for, which is the boule. And this now needs to be cut in the cutting machine. I'm actually not sure if it needs a circuit, let's check. No. Let's just clear this out. Okay. Alright, here are our 16 wafers. And get a little bit of silicon back as well, which is nice. And there's our circuit boards. Okay, polyethylene, fine annealed wire, wafers. Ooh, I don't know why I was panicking, that's the recipe. Yes, here are our first diodes. Alright, make 12 off the bat, that's lovely. Although, I'm not going to go crazy, because I think the circuit assembler might help us get them even cheaper than that. Should I celebrate with beer or wine? Oh, we get both, never mind. Okay, good job me. So I think I will go push straight on and see if we can make that circuit assembler next. Alright, the mixer's not doing too much at the moment. The lengths I will go to avoid setting up another power distribution. It's ridiculous. There it is, we are officially in MV. Okay, so here we are in the MV tab with our first quest completed. What I'd like to do, if not next, then as a general direction, is beeline this extruder, because that makes so many things a lot cheaper to make. But between here and there, we have to make all these things, and honestly, we do not have the aluminium for it. We've got just those first few ingots that we crafted up to start with. So I think what I'm going to do first off the bat is go ahead and mine up some aluminium, or at least things that we can turn into aluminium. Okay, so it looks like one way to get aluminum, the stuff, is by taking gem dust and putting it through the blast furnace with carbon dust. Now we've got a bunch of dark ash from our steel operation, so I'm just going to run that through the centrifuge, and that should give us loads of carbon dust. Ooh, I should shift all this mica out. Alright, so it's the next day and I'm getting ready to craft up this extruder. Obviously we need to be able to power it as well, and I'd like to grab the quests for these guys before we incorporate them into machines. We ended up with about nearly 2 stacks of aluminium. I've gone ahead and just done a bit of preliminary crafting to head off the more obvious bottlenecks, but we'll see how this all goes. Okay, so right away I can see I'm missing some copper cable for this. I was cooking some up already. Okay, it's not much, but it's a start. Okay, so looking at the extruder, I think all I need to pre-craft is another machine hull for it, which is no problem at all. Or at least it wouldn't be if this was set up. Thought I had some more polyethylene around. Let me go look for it. So I think I just need to grab some oxygen cells from here and pop them in here. And that'll cook up a little bit more polyethylene for us. Now with polyethylene in hand, we can make this machine hull very quickly and easily. Alright, let's see how this goes. Very easily. Now I don't think we'll get the quest for this right away, because we need to make an awful lot of shapes for it. If I bring up the quest, we need to make all of these. And that is a bunch of steel and no small amount of brass to get those. So I think what I'll do is, I think there's 15 of them. I'll make all the brass plates, then I'll make the brass shapes, and then I'll just go and cast them all out together rather than running back and forth between here and Smeltery, which would be silly. I could also just not make them all, but they're going to be useful to have at some point, and it will be annoying to get to a point where I need them and then have to run off and make them. Alright, I counted 15 shapes. So it'll be 15 brass and 60 steel. Oh, wicked, we already have enough steel in here, so I just need to do the brass. These should just cast out automatically now. Nearly there with these. Okay. Damn it. Oh well. Let's turn that off. And void this. And we'll just do these one by hand. I'm not going to try and automate it. So the reason I wanted to get this first is it makes things a lot cheaper, like it'll set several things a lot cheaper. So for rods, you can see we're now getting 2 to 1 properly, so don't need to use the lathe ever again. It's also going to be handy for pipes, gears, rotors, you name it. I don't think plates are much more cheaper, or are much cheaper. Let's see. That's interesting. No, plates are still 1 to 1, that's fine. But they are very quick. Okay, so with all of that progress done, I think it's time to take a bit of a step back and start consolidating what we've got. Because I can keep building out janky, just about good enough for now solutions. But what we could really do with is actually improving the things that we've got. So for instance, the oil processing really needs a lot of babysitting, the polyethylene needs a lot of babysitting, things like that. So what I'd like to do is have a look at this little list here. I want to get myself a LV autoclave, and that'll help us make some filters. We can use those filters to make a sifter. We don't need the sifter right away, but there are some things coming up that we're going to need good quality gems for, and the sifter's the best way to get them. Those filters will also make Ender IO item filters that we can use with Ender IO item conduits, and that will help tidy up our infrastructure quite a lot. It'll make automating and making pipelines need less babysitting. I also want to get a sol vial and see if we can get a bulk run of ender pearls running by melting up an Enderman. That's going to be a good time. Generally de-jank the process lines that I've got set up. I'd like to get some good GregTech tools. The steel ones I've been using are really not lasting long enough. And I also want to look into lossless LV cable. Now we can get redstone alloy going. So that's a big long list. I'm going to get started on it now, but it's likely to roll into the next episode as well. Let's get going. Alright, so on that list I needed to make a couple of LV machines, which means I could probably do with bolstering up steel. But the nice thing about having an EBF now is that steel is going to get really easy. I used the arc furnace to smelt up some cast iron, ground that up. Now we can throw this in here on circuit 11. Does this work? Not quite. Am I going to need a pump? I am. 2 seconds. And there it goes. And that makes steel once every 5 seconds. Fantastic. Okay, let's see if we can make some of those item filters. Let's grab some carbon dust. And steal this polyethylene. And go to this autoclave. So the first step is making these raw carbon fibres. Off it goes. Then those need to go into the assembler on circuit 2 to make our raw carbon mesh. And now we just need some zinc foil. Now this takes quite a long time. 80 seconds I think it was. But that's fine. And using carbon to me is the better choice rather than steel, even though it's not much steel and we've got and steel is plentiful. But carbon is literally garbage to us at the moment. We cannot get through it fast enough. So finding a use for it is fantastic. Alright, so that's filters being made. Okay, so I made my autoclave. Filters are being made. Next up, I want to make a sifter. So that's literally just missing a couple of filters. Back when those have been crafted up. Are you done? You are done. It is kind of nice just watching these machines coming on and off and doing their thing. Alright, I have my 2 filters. Let's see if this crafts. It does! Fantastic. Now of all of these, I think I want the emerald ore. I haven't found emerald in the nether yet, and honestly I don't like looking around in the nether for ores. So if we can get the... is it exquisite or flawless emeralds that we need? For emitters and things? It'd be great if we can get it from this, but... let's see. This machine is quite slow, but it is very handy. Ha! What do you know? Flawless emerald right away. Excellent. Oh yeah, lenses is useful for that. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I couldn't remember exactly what it was that we needed those for, but I knew we needed them. So that's good that we've got a chance of getting a few more of those. Okay, that's that done. Next up, let's see if we can make a soul vial. While that's cooking up, let's see if we can make some of that fused quartz. So we'll need some glass dust. I think it was 2 certas to 1 glass. Great. Bollocks. I've just noticed this is an MV assembler recipe. Okay, well, might be able to make one? Well, we probably can make one. Just a little bit earlier than I was expecting, but we're definitely going to need it, so let's just get on with it. I'm getting a little bit low on rubber sheets, which I'll need for these conveyor modules, so just crafting a few up. Okay, that's our conveyors, and that should be a quest too. Yep, and this just needs a little bit more aluminium plate. Gonna need to switch the blast furnace back over to aluminium production mode in a little bit. Because we've already nearly burnt through that couple of stacks that we made to start with. There we go. Excellent. And looks like we just need a machine hole for this. Excellent. Okay. There's our assembler. Okay, looks like a annealed copper cable is the way forwards. Run that through the wire mill. Alright, that should be enough to get us going. We won't be able to run machines simultaneously, but we do have the convenience of having them sat next to each other. Sweet. Now for that soul vial. That's 3 fused quartz to 1 round. Don't quite have enough for 2, but that's fine. I only need 1. Wonderful. Okay, so I haven't really explained yet why I want the soul vial. And it's basically for... where's the quest? Here. Enderman Smelterman. So this quest explains how you can get ender pearls by smelting up an enderman in the smeltery. If you get a regenerating smelterman, he will last forever. He out-heals the damage he takes from the hot fluid that's in the smeltery and just keeps producing ender pearls every time he takes damage, which is really nice. But we need a regenerating Enderman. Smelterman? Enderman. So what I've been doing is you can claim Enderman spawn eggs from the vending machine every so often, so when I've remembered and now and then I've just been going by and grabbing a couple of eggs. So the reason we want the sol vial is editing-esque here. I made an absolute pig's ear of this explanation in the video, so I'll have another shot at it now. Only infernal Endermen can have regen. Endermen spawned from an egg may or may not be infernal. If it's not infernal, we can use the sol vial to pick it up and respawn the Enderman again and again until we get an infernal Enderman. Once you have an infernal mob, its modifiers are locked. You can still pick it up and respawn it, but the modifiers will be the same each time. So the purpose of the sol vial is to guarantee one infernal mob per egg, whatever the initial spawn type is. And of course, once you have the regenerating Enderman, you can pick him up and keep him in the sol vial if you need the smeltery back for other things. Okay, so I found a configuration that worked, and just a few tries, I got a regen dude. So now, let's block him in. What I will do is I've got this name tag here, which should stop the guy from despawning. Yes, that worked. Okay, so he's now name tagged and shouldn't despawn if I go away and do something else. Alright, so we got our sol vial. We've got ender pearls underway. Ender IO item conduits are up next. So pulsating iron means blasting up this pulsating iron dust, which has redstone alloy dust as a component of it. Now we need the redstone alloy dust anyway for our lossless LV cables, so I'm going to start, I think, by making up a bunch of this. I think 3 stacks is probably a good number, maybe 6? Yeah, let's say 6 stacks. Lovely, now let's see about getting some of this blasted up. For some reason I was expecting this to need conduit binder, but it doesn't, and this recipe's arguably simpler, maybe? This is very, very, very slow. So I think we're probably just going to have to sort of cycle between doing conduits, making aluminium, and making redstone alloy, which is the other thing I want to make for our lossless cables. Alright, so that's lossless LV cables on the way. Okay, so next up, I guess we need to get on with the de-jankening. I realise I've been crafting MV circuits using 3 LV circuits at a time, which was a mistake. So we've nearly blown through all of our LV circuits now, but thankfully those 2 are a little bit cheaper with the circuit assembler. The first setup I want to de-jank is light fuel processing. For that, I think I want to get rid of the mixer that's making salt water and just bring in an advanced electrolyzer to be able to recycle our hydrogen sulfide to hydrogen and sulfur. The hydrogen can just loop, and the sulfur we'll put it into a drawer with an overflow. And we want another electrolyzer, MV electrolyzer, for the workshop here, because that'll be really handy. Okay, well, whether it's less jank is definitely up for question. I really need to see it sort of in action and see it do a few cycles to figure out what needs fixing up, but I don't want to waste this light fuel by emptying it out. I could put it in a container, but it'll just never get used, so I'd rather it was just working sort of organically. so I can figure out where the bugs are. So I'll come back once it's had a few cycles and I can see what needs fixing. I had some spare hydrogen sulfide, so I thought I'd see how this behaves, and that's right away showing that we need a filter in this brown input here. This will extract on brown. Sulfur can go in here, and sulfur can go in here, but only hydrogen cells can go in here. This will take a while, but it'll let us upgrade our Tinker's tools to cobalt. Cobalt's fairly available right now, so switching to a cobalt head gets us a nice boost in durability, mining speed, and mining level as well. Okay, let's have a look at some loot bags. Let's see what we got. Well, there's some expected garbage. Not sure if I'm going to need that or not. Yay! We got a second elevator. Definitely not going to need these farm bits. These Gaiawort seeds are going to be very handy. They work like milk, so they remove debuffs, and they're going to be really useful when we're moving super tanks around. This means I don't need to make one of these. There's some more steel. Diesel, great. All in all, not a bad haul. Okay, that was a lot. And we're not done. So next time I want to get much better GregTech tools. The De-jankening will continue, and if there is time, I will get started on upgrading fuel processing so we can produce diesel. See you then!